Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining my video. And I'm also here with Anel on her channel. And we're just talking about our chronic illnesses and similarities that we share, and how it's kind of a stigma in today's world, but we're moving past that and talking about how we can come together as one.
Okay, so my name is Anel. For those of you that don't know me, I have a podcast called The Brave and Her, and I'm married. I've been married for almost 10 years. I have a stepdaughter. She's 12, and so basically, I just started The Brave and Her to talk about my journey through kidney disease, and also to share the stories of other women who have gone through a hard situation, um, and basically, um, I'm here to talk with Michelle about our chronic illnesses. So, Michelle, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Michelle. I am a mom and a wife. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We have two beautiful teenagers. Well, almost teenager. We have a tween and a teen. I have two fur babies and a turtle. I suffer from a ton of chronic illnesses, which we can get into if you like. I try to live day by day, without, you know, wearing myself out for the next day. Other than that, I'm here, I'm living.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit before starting to record, and we found that we have some similarities, although our illnesses are not the same. But what we go through, day in, day out, we have very similar experiences. So I wrote some questions just to lead our conversation, which is, we're going to talk about just going through a chronic illness. Like, how do we live with a chronic illness? And some of us have multiple chronic illness. Like you mentioned, you have multiple chronic illnesses. I also have multiple chronic illnesses. But so I wrote some questions down. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm reading the questions. But just to start our conversation, when did you start experiencing symptoms, and what were they? What were the symptoms?
I started experiencing symptoms when I was young, but they started progressively getting worse to where I really noticed them in my early 20s before I got married. So I started noticing something was wrong. I kept seeing a lot of doctors, and the doctors just didn't know what was wrong with me. They're like, "You're young, just be young." Um, I I wasn't willing to accept that, and I just kept seeing doctor after doctor after doctor looking for answers. Years went by. Nobody could give me answers, so I started seeing my current doctor, which I've been seeing for the last, I would say, 7, 8 years. And he started getting me into a bunch of specialists. So that's when we started getting into diagnosis about 10 years ago, about a decade ago, is when I started getting diagnoses.
About 8 years ago, you said?
About a decade ago. So about 10 to 12 years
Oh,
ago.
okay. For me, so I was born with kidney disease, but so I don't know anything other than living with kidney disease. So my symptoms were just feeling really tired, and things like that. But for my other chronic illness, actually for my endometriosis, it's taken a while to even like diagnose it, because um now, with technology, now we know more things, and it's, I guess, somewhat easier to diagnose it. Not that it's easy, but it did take like maybe 10 years to um to be able to like talk to my doctor about it and say, okay, this is not normal. Like I'm experiencing a lot of pain and all these symptoms that I'm experiencing, and it's not normal. So at first I thought, for many years I thought, oh, I just have bad cramping, right? I'm one
Mhm.
of those that have really painful periods, but turns out no, there's something else going on. Um, so that's how I got diagnosed with that. And I'm still trying to figure it out. And this was in 2017, so 4 years ago. Four, wait, is it 5 years already? But we're still trying to get a clear view of what's going on. Um, let's see.
My first diagnosis myself was endometriosis.
Okay.
I had endometriosis before I'd had my hysterectomy. So that was the first thing I had. I really, really, really dealt with that before I had kids. And after I had kids, it got so bad that they had to just pull everything.
See, and they said that sometimes, I guess it's not guaranteed, right? But that if you have endometriosis, that when you get pregnant or after having kids, it goes away. I've heard of some stories that happens, but apparently, not for you. That was not your experience, right?
No, no, mine got really, really, really bad.
Oh wow.
So much worse. So I finally, after I had my tubal, we were done having our children. We had two children. We had a boy and a girl. So I was like, please, what can we do? The doctor said, we can do a hysterectomy. And I asked her what that was. She fully explained that I was going to have a full hysterectomy, leaving nothing there. And I was like, let's do it. And I will tell you, that was the best surgery I ever did for myself. Never looked back. It was not even painful after I had the surgery.
Wow.
That's how much pain I experienced before.
Did your period stop after that?
Yeah, so I did not, and I have not had a period since.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
You're liking it better.
Oh yeah. But
Less.
I do have to be on hormone replacement, so it's not all, you know, sunshine and roses.
Yeah. Um, so the next question I have is, how did those symptoms affect your life? So the symptoms that we were going through, um, you know, leading to the diagnosis, how did those affect our lives?
So for me, it really affected the way that I was able to spend time with my children. There was times I didn't want to get up because with my diagnosis, especially with my psoriatic arthritis, which I hadn't been diagnosed with yet then, but I had it. I was always in a flare. So I didn't know, but I knew something was wrong, and I hadn't been diagnosed till this year with psoriatic arthritis, but it affected my time with my children. I couldn't get up and make dinners a lot of times. My husband had to take over and do a lot of things. There was just so much stuff I couldn't do. I had to get a handicap sign. So it just really affected my life. How about you? How did it affect yours?
So for me, I remember like being young, being in elementary school or middle school, and um, not having the energy to even focus in school. So I used to get like really bad grades, because I just, I couldn't focus. I couldn't focus in school. Um, like really low energy. So that's the way that it affected my life. But then as older or past the kidney transplant, when I started feeling these symptoms for endometriosis, pain, actually, a lot of pain. So um, I remember in 2017, there was many times that my coworker had to drive me home from work because I was that exhausted because of the pain. I was in pain almost every day, um, all day, and I was just exhausted from the pain. So my coworker had to drive me home. I couldn't function. Um, And yeah, like you said, my husband had to take over because I just couldn't function.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets bad. And then from there it gets worse until it gets better.
Right. Yeah, until it gets better. And then, you're the thing about when you have a chronic illness is that for at least for kidney disease, and I'm sure your chronic illness as well, because we were talking about it earlier before recording, is that one day you could be fine, and then the next day you just can't function because of the pain.
Right. Right. And sometimes you're down for 2 to 3 days afterwards. It just depends on how much you did that following day.
Right. Another question I have is, after diagnosis, how did you cope?
So I didn't cope very well. I really got depressed, like really, really bad depression. I ended up seeing a psychiatrist, a therapist. Um, I had in-home therapy at that time because I couldn't go anywhere. I was on oxygen at the time from a surgery that I had and didn't go well. So I had a therapist come to my home and it was really, really bad. I got really depressed and I felt helpless and hopeless and like I couldn't hold up my end of the bargain in our marriage, like, and with our children. I felt like I was just alone, alone.
Yeah, same here. Growing up, I guess, dealing with my kidney disease, I always felt like I had to be, strong and like not show emotion. And um, although, like, I think, for me, it hasn't affected me as, as it affected someone who, let's say, got kidney disease as, even as a child or as an adult, because they knew how living without kidney disease felt like. For me, I've always just dealt with kidney disease, so I don't know what it feels like not dealing with kidney disease, right? um but as I'm getting older, um you know my anxiety came out, and my panic attacks came out, and um it's a lot of, like, I guess, the trauma that
Yeah.
I try to, like, just put under the rug, or maybe that I wasn't aware that I was going through trauma, because, like I said, I didn't know any better. But now, as I get older and realize things, like, okay, that was tough, right? That was what I went through, was tough. Now that I look back, right? Um, but yeah, it's manifested a lot in, like, anxiety. um Now I can get, like, a simple procedure, because I just have a lot of anxiety, like getting an MRI, forget it. Like, I have to get some kind of, like, relaxer to relax me. um Things like that. Um but I think, overall, I think I've done pretty well.
You
That
know, they say that the mind forgets, but the body never does.
Right.
Like your body never forgets the trauma it's been through. And
Right.
so it manifests into sicknesses, anxiety, and depression.
Right. And I couldn't understand, like, why is this happening? Like, in 2017, like, is when, I got a lot of anxiety, pain, and all this stuff, right? I went through a lot. My 2020 was actually in 2017. 2017, 2018. So I couldn't understand, like, okay, I've been through so much worse before. I've gone through major surgeries as a kid. Like, why is this happening now? Like, why am I getting all this anxiety? Why, I'm not doing well, like, mentally. um but my doctor said it was about to happen, right? Like, it had to happen at some point, because you've gone through so much your whole life, that it's okay. It's completely normal what you're going through.
Right. It's a very traumatic experience that you you think at the time you're handling it well, but later it comes out in all these manifestations.
Yeah. She said, like, because when you're going through it, like when you're going through something, you're on survival mode. Uh,
Yeah,
and then once the storm, is over, then is when, like, okay, the anxiety comes out and the panic comes out, and all these emotions that you just you I guess you didn't have the time to feel while you were going through it because you were so busy on survival mode.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You couldn't have said it any better. That's exactly right.
That's what my doctor said, and I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. But I'm like, I still don't understand, like, why now, like, now that I'm like 30 something and this is happening, like, I feel kind of silly, sometimes, because, like, I should have had this, like, when I was like 10, 11, 12, when I was going through major surgery. But if you think about it, when I was a kid, like, I didn't know, I didn't have to make decisions, right? The decisions were being made for me. Like, my parents
Right.
had to make the decisions for me, and my doctors were making decisions for me. But as you get older and you have to make those decisions, now you realize, like, okay, now there's a lot more pressure because now I have to decide, do I go with A, do I go with B, and, like, which one's better? Both of them are bad. Like, it's a little more stressful if you think.
Stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um let's see, another question I have. So I guess the part of how do I cope, I just try to, be grateful for the good days. um because although I'm going through so much pain and I'm going through all this stuff, I know some people out there have it a lot worse.
Yeah.
So just be grateful for the good days, and be grateful for what my body is able to do, and how my body is able to, like, recover. Because it could be the opposite way, right? It could be that my body's not able to recover, and um it could be a lot worse, I guess.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, we could be sick every day and laid up every day. There's some people that literally can't get out of bed every single day.
Yeah.
So we have to take the good days we have and not overdo it, but make the best of it we can.
Yeah. And not to say that, our pain is less than their pain. um
Right.
it's just that, um I don't know, like, for some reason we're able to function a little better, right? And we should be just grateful for that, because, like I said, it could
Exactly.
easily be the other way around, where we're not able to function,
Yep.
right?
I agree.
um so the next question I have is, what advice would you give to that woman who is listening and feeling like similar symptoms, or like symptoms of, like, knowing that there's something wrong, but is scared to go to the doctor and, like, get a diagnosis, or maybe has been going to the doctor but is not getting a diagnosis, like we were mentioning earlier, that it took so long for you to get a diagnosis. It took a decade, right? And for me,
Hmm.
almost the same. Like, it took so many years to actually get some kind of a diagnosis, or a diagnosis. Like, what advice would you give that woman?
I would say you know yourself the best. Stay in the game. Do not let the doctors decide for you. If you know something's wrong, keep pushing forward. Keep going. Keep asking the doctors for help. Don't give in. Don't give up. Because at the end of the day, you're going to figure out what they're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
But it might not be today and it might not be tomorrow. It might be a year from now. But even a year from now is better than never.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I would say don't give up. And if you're not satisfied with your current doctor, you can always change your doctor. You can always go to another doctor if you can, and get a second diagnosis, or second opinion. um,
Yeah.
don't feel like you're stuck with your doctor. And also, yeah, just unfortunately you have to be very patient, but like you
Yes.
said, you know your body better than anybody, better than your doctor, better than anybody, because you live with your own body, right? So you know what is going on, you know that there's something wrong. So don't let the doctors, nurses, whoever make you feel like you're going crazy, or that you're just, sometimes because we're women, like they make it seem like we're crazy, or that we're just trying to get attention, or we're just being dramatic or something. Like, no, just keep on pushing, and keep on, I guess, pushing for a diagnosis. And if you're not happy, change doctors, go to someone else and get a second
And
opinion.
another thing is if you don't advocate for yourself, no one else will.
Right.
You have to self advocate. I
Right.
can't say that enough. If you go to a doctor and you're expecting them to advocate for you, don't always expect that.
Right.
Advocate for yourself. Say what you want, say what you mean, and you'll get better results.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Let's see. The next question, or somewhat of the last question. What is the one thing that has kept you going?
I would say my family, knowing that I get up every day and I have kids that push me to move forward and keep going. I say this all the time. My kids are literally my lifeline. I really believe they are here to keep me going. They keep me motivated. They keep me aspirational. I'm very blessed to have that, and I know a lot of people don't. But that's what keeps me going. It's my children, my husband, my grandma. They are very supportive and understanding to what I'm going through, and I couldn't ask for a better small support system, but I have that.
Yeah. For me, it's the same. My family and my faith. My faith has played a huge
Yes,
role in like me keep going, because even on those days where I feel like I can't anymore, I know that God's with me, and
yes,
I know there's a purpose behind my journey. I've seen it, the times that I've shared my story, my kidney disease story, and how long I've had my kidney transplant. I know that gives hope to someone who is going through something similar, or maybe someone who's in dialysis and is waiting for a kidney. That gives them hope that, hopefully one day they will get a kidney, and it will last them as long or longer than I've had mine so far. So
yeah,
that reassures me, that me sharing my story, me going through all this, is to help others. Um, so that's what keeps me going.
exactly. And do your viewers know how long you've had your kidney for?
Yeah, so I've shared that in, I think it was my first episode, where I actually dedicate my podcast to my kidney donor. And so I've had my kidney now for 25 years. This year will be 26. And actually, this year, I just realized this on Saturday, that it would be the same amount of time that my kidney donor had the kidney in his body. So
Wow.
when I had my kidney transplant, my kidney donor, from a cadaver, so he passed away and he was 26. All I know is that he was 26, male, and healthy, which it shows because I've had the kidney for so long, right?
Yeah,
It's a really good match, and so yeah, so I've almost had it for as long as he had it. So yeah, so that gives me hope, and gives other people hope of the future.
exactly. That's what I wanted everyone to hear was that that's an amazing story
Yeah, it's
because
almost unheard of. Yeah.
it is. It is. Yeah. So that's, I wanted everybody to hear that because I think it's amazing.
Yeah, even doctors get amazed by it. Every time I meet a new doctor, and I tell them like, oh, I've had my kidney for 25, 26 years or almost 26 years. They're amazed.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yep.
It's like when I heard it, I was like,
Yeah. The I guess average time that a kidney transplant from a cadaver lasts, it's like about 15 years, 10, 15 years, and I already passed that. So
yeah, that's amazing.
yeah, it's all God, not me.
It is. It is. But I am, and you take care of yourself, and that shows.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my story.
I
And
really enjoyed hearing that.
thank you. And like I think it's important to have these kind of conversations about what we go through on the day to day. How we were saying that um, it's kind of so for us who deal with a chronic illness or multiple chronic illness, it's easy for us to kind of share like um, like our medicine or our doctor appointments or um, things related to or data related to our chronic illness, right? But we don't
Right.
share our like day-to-day stories, or at least I haven't seen like many people share that, and me included. I don't really share my day-to-day, where one day I feel fine and then the other day out of nowhere I could just not feel fine and just be in bed. And that's just part of having a chronic illness. And I wish more
Mhm.
people will come out and talk about it. And me included too. I wish I could have the bravery to talk about it um, more.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's hard sometimes. Like I'll get up and I don't. I'm the same way. I'll say, I talk about the good days or the bad days more than I talk about the good days, or vice versa sometimes. But sometimes it's about the whole story.
Right. Because having a chronic illness is actually very isolating.
It
Very
is.
you feel lonely a lot. And
Mhm.
how we were saying before we started recording, you can feel very guilty for not feeling well one day and not being able to function, not being able to even do the bare minimum. So by sharing the story, our stories of our day to day and other people seeing it, who are going through a chronic illness, I think it would be like less taboo, right? And it would be more known for people, especially for us who are dealing with like an invisible disease, right?
Yes.
So people don't understand like you were just fine. Like even 15 minutes ago, how I was telling you the story about this past Saturday, where I was actually at a restaurant having dinner with, a group of friends. And then literally out of nowhere, from my pain went from like, just feeling something like a 1, let's say, to like a 10 in like a matter of like 20 minutes. Like it just escalated so fast. Luckily we were at a restaurant down the street, and I just told my husband I have to go home. I'm gonna go home because right now I'm in so much pain. So I just came home, lay down, took some um what's it called, painkiller,
Tylenol.
whatever, Tylenol. and
Uh-huh.
and I was kind of fine, right? um and but we don't talk about that. We don't talk about those times where and people don't understand, right? Like you were just fine 2 seconds ago. What do you mean you're in pain?
Yeah, they don't. And it's such a stigma. There's a stigma around chronic illness, like you said.
Yeah.
And it is almost taboo. People don't understand that literally we could be fine one minute, like you said, the next minute not be okay. That's what chronic illness does. It makes you almost unpredictable at times.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's kind of like I don't want to say scary, but sometimes it is, I guess, kind of scary to like make plans because you don't know if
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Yeah. I always tell everyone I don't promise anything. If I can make it, I'll let you know, or I'll message you the next day. Other than that, if I have to leave the house or go somewhere, I don't promise anybody anything because I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be okay that day. I
Right.
don't know.
Right. And it could be like, it doesn't even have to be one day. It could be like a whole week where you're just like not feeling yourself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, same here. And you know what? I have that habit of saying yes to people
Mm,
and promising, but I have to be more conscious of that and saying,
yeah.
I can't promise, but if I can, I'll be there.
I think that was the first thing I worked on when I was working on myself in therapy was I used to be that yes person too. And then I had to stop being that yes person because
Mm.
I was letting a lot of people down, especially my kids, and it
Yeah.
wasn't fair. And so it wasn't fair to me and it wasn't fair to them. But at the end of the day, it let everybody down. So I just had to say, I will let you know tomorrow how I feel. Today I feel okay, but we're not going today. We're going tomorrow. So I'll let you know tomorrow.
Right. And even if we go, like I said, like, and even if we go and if I don't feel well, you know what? I'm sorry, but I have to go back or I have to go home or something.
And be okay with that.
Right. Because again, like that guilt um comes in, and it doesn't serve us any good by feeling guilty for what our bodies are going through. Our bodies
Right.
have gone through so much that um yeah, like feeling guilty about it shouldn't be a thing.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't even be an aftermath. It should be we don't feel good and that's it and move on, you know.
Right? Yeah. So that's something that we can both work on and
Yep.
share more of our stories. I know that's your plan to share more of that. And I for once, like, I'm grateful for that, that you're sharing that.
Yeah, me too.
And then last question I have is, where can we find you and follow your journey?
So I'm on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Michelle Louise. And I also have a Instagram. It's michellelouise.ig. And I also have a podcast that I'm hoping to get back up and running, the Mums Lounge. It's MUMS. And I'm just around town, just hanging around.
And for me, I am at the on Instagram. I'm at the Brave in Her, and also on podcast and wherever you listen to podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and on YouTube. Yeah.
Awesome.
I will have for both of us will have our links or our information down in the description box, so you guys can follow us, our journey, and yeah. Do you have any last minute thing to say?
I just want to thank you for letting me be on this podcast and show with you and sharing my story and your story with me and everybody else because I think it's very important that we get this out to everybody.
Yeah, same here. And I hope that your viewers or your listeners or my listeners, somebody will get inspired by our stories and start sharing your story. Everybody's story matters, and you never know who you will impact, who you will help. So share your story.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm.
Hey everyone. So thank you so much for watching this video today. And I hope we inspired you guys as well. And stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have another video together. If not, I hope you guys enjoyed this one and you get a lot out of it.